the explosion is the burnout.
Yeah.
Once you're there,
you're there,
covered in Sprite.
Nothing.
You're covered in Sprite.
Nothing you can do.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to Feast or Famine with the Youngs.
We're the Youngs.
And we have a guest today.
And we have a +1 now. We had a +1
honestly,
before, but we have another +1.
Honestly, David had been our +1 for quite some time, actually.
Yeah, David actually, before we pitch it to David, if you've been around for a while, I started in commercial corporate TV work and left that job, lost that job, whatever you want to call it, and decided, we're in the wedding industry doing photography already. Let's go ahead and do video. I'd done some video. I wouldn't say I was an expert in it at all, but I had the corporate background. So
yeah.
Cue David. David kind of jumped in and kind of was like, here's what a wedding looks like. Here's what you should be doing with wedding work, because wedding and corporate work are far different. But I was able to use what I learned from corporate world and apply it to weddings, because someone who knows weddings came in.
Very well. All right, David, introduce yourself.
So because you know weddings, how do you know weddings? Who are you?
Who are you?
Who are you?
David?
I wasn't expecting a whole intro like that. I'm thrown.
Your mic's
I'm an honorary young, I guess. Is that what that means?
I guess so.
What just happened?
Well, we've been friends for a long time.
Your mic was sinking.
That's all good.
So who are you?
Yeah, I'm David Skaggs. I'm a cinematographer, an editor, a filmmaker. I work, as they said, in the wedding industry. I've done that for about 12 or 13 years now, full time. And then I also work corporate and commercial photography and videography for a national agency that's based out of St. Louis, Missouri.
And they've been taking you all over the place.
Oh yeah, David's been to
Share
just this year. Where have you been?
Yeah.
Just this year?
Because this is pretty dope, guys.
Because that's pretty. Just this year is pretty cool.
Yeah, it's mid-April as of recording, and so far I've been in Aspen, Colorado. I've been for the downhill ski pro circuit thing. I don't know. I don't ski. I don't know what it was. It was downhill ski racing that didn't really happen because it snowed too hard a lot of the times, which feels wrong, but I don't know.
Yeah.
So I was there for 5 days for that, for a pretty big client. Before that, the week before that, I was at the Daytona 500 shooting content there.
On the track
And out in the like the tailgate area. The week before that, I was at the Super Bowl, so I was in Phoenix, Arizona.
Which is...
That's wild.
Like going to the Super Bowl, and I remember us talking about it when you told us that you were going. You're like it's cool, but man, I'm not like into football. And I'm like, but like
it's the Super Bowl.
Like that's a once in a lifetime thing.
Yeah, and it was such a weird experience too, because like we didn't have seats. We had like press passes. Like everybody that worked on the event that we were at, we had like press passes, but we didn't have seats. So we just like walked around and went anywhere. We just like held up our pass and like quickly flat. Like I felt like I was like being a fake FBI agent, where I was just like, here you go. Don't look too close.
Don't look too close.
So where were you not allowed to go with that?
The field.
That's literally you go anywhere except the field.
Yeah, I mean basically like I ended up the first half of the game I watched from essentially like the like owner's floor, like where like
That's
you know like
the boxes are at?
the box floor. I mean the club level basically is where we watched all of that through halftime. After the halftime show, we kind of started like walking back around, and I ended up watching in essentially like a handicap area, like a standing room only area, and I got to watch the end of the game there. And then
I feel like
That's
for
so
me,
cool.
if I was at the Super Bowl, like I truly would not care about the game. I would be looking in the stands, like looking for all the celebrities that are there.
I
like
did.
John Mayer was there. Freaking Beyonce
Kevin Hart was there. Yeah, everybody was there. They were
The Rock was there.
Yeah, he was there.
And you can't. He's hard to miss. Like
I got to meet Dan Marino, which was pretty cool while I was there. I got to meet like I said, I'm not a huge football fan, so like, but I like interacted with like a lot of famous. If you're into football, like I interacted with a lot of like really famous
players
people.
And stuff. Like
Like we got to interact and shoot content with the guys who were announcing the game, which was pretty cool. Like they did like a meet and greet kind of thing there. Dan Marino was there. I got him to quote from Ace Ventura, which was fun. Yeah, so I don't know. He also didn't approve. I don't think he really loved my comment where I was like, hey man, loved you in Bad Boys too. Like, I think he kind of is like, I'm known for more than that.
Than
but he's
Bad
like,
Boys too.
Yeah,
But
Bad
I
Boys
love
2.
those
and he's
movies too.
sure.
I would have done the same thing.
Yeah,
I
I
played
was like,
football
look man,
too.
look man, I know you from something. Just be cool, man. And then before that, I went to New York to do a shoot for a pretty big hotel chain. I was at the Giants and MetLife Stadium, Giants and the Jets to shoot content over Thanksgiving. So now we're kind of a little bit before this year, but I've been to Atlanta a couple of times. I mean, like I've been at least 6 cities in the last 6 months.
Yeah.
And this is all with the same company, right?
This is all just with the agency that I work for.
That's so cool.
And so that doesn't include the weddings that I've shot where I've
Right.
been to Chicago. I've shot a wedding in Chicago this year. I shot one in St. Pete Beach, Florida. Last year I did Jackson Hole. I did Kansas City. I did, just kind of all over the place. I mean, at this point, like traveling is what I
you
do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which kind of brings us to our topic.
I was thinking that.
Yep. A nice little smooth segue.
I'm a pro.
You got a lot going on, bro.
This
you got
dude
a lot
is
going
like
on.
busy. I thought I was busy last year.
Yeah.
This dude
Yeah.
had me beat. big
So
time.
today we are talking about burnout, because in our industry, burnout is so real. We all have experienced it, at some point. You experienced it hardcore, Alex, last year.
Yeah, I usually don't, but last year was pretty rough for me.
Yeah.
And I think as a business owner in general, burnout's easy to get to
Yeah.
because you just
Especially
are
in the creative
go all
industry.
the time. You're on all the time. And then you forget because you have this list of tasks that are just never ending, and you're checking stuff off, and all of a sudden you're just like, I'm so overwhelmed. I don't want to do this anymore.
Yeah. And it's not like with what we do, you can just like plug and chug. Like you have to like be creative because that's literally what we're doing.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like for me, the interesting thing is like, I don't realize I'm burned out until I'm halfway through
The burnout.
and then it's like, oh no,
Whoops.
Yeah.
I don't know what to do. Like, there's nothing you can. There's no way. Especially like, let's just use the wedding industry,
Yeah.
right? Mm-hmm. We've booked weddings a year, 2 years out sometimes.
Yep.
Okay, and I remember specifically, like we got burned out together,
At
like
the same
at the
time.
exact same time, and it was just like such a difficult situation because like I remember we both shot weddings every weekend basically because in 2021 it was fall of 2021 I remember was like my biggest mental, emotional, physical burnout.
I think it was the same for you, Alex, because that year was so.
2022.
No, it was 2020. It was
2021 because of right after COVID.
Yeah.
And it was.
I remember
Intense.
talking about it together where we were like, I don't even know what to do. Like, there's no way out of this.
Like texting each other, like, "Are you alive today?"
Like,
Like that's the first step.
I'm sitting at my desk and I'll spend an entire day with the same project at my computer screen and have done absolutely nothing with it.
Yeah.
Just because I'm staring at the screen and I don't know what to do because I'm so tapped out.
It's a little different for me, but we've always talked about the fact that like I'm a very fast editor. I got my start in a wedding farm basically that like turned and burned 150 weddings a year. So I had to learn like how to find the formula to edit a wedding quickly, spend 8 to 10 to 12 hours on post-production, whereas most people spend 30, 40.
I was gonna ask you, like, can you edit like a whole ass film in a day?
If I shot it, yeah.
Yeah.
I think if I've shot it, the fastest I've ever edited one is like 3.5 hours. I think I burned through one in like
crazy.
3.
That's wild.
But it was one of those ones that like, when you're shooting it, you're like, I know the opening sequence.
Yeah.
I know the middle. Like the speeches were great. The content is great.
And
you're
some
like,
weddings
it
are just like that.
It just clicks.
Yeah. And
it's a
I
puzzle
wish-
piece that just falls together on its
I
own.
wish every wedding was like
And
that,
see,
but it's not.
No.
Sometimes when I have something like that where I have these speeches that are just fantastic, I end up with 3 or 4 speeches that are fantastic. And so I cut all those. And then I'm like, oh, what about the ceremony? Oh, there's a bunch of nuggets in there that I can use. I end up with like an hour worth of speaking moments that I have to cut down. And that is where I get turned around like, okay, what part of the story do I want to use? Because I got to take this hour worth of speaking and cut it into 5 minutes.
Yeah.
That's never really been an issue for me though, because I got started doing magazine style pieces. Like when I was in college, I did magazine style pieces for the.
What does that mean? I don't even know what that means.
It's like an interview style, like a 60 minutes subject interview.
Oh,
then
like
you follow
talking
them
head.
around, like a talking head.
Okay.
Yeah, and like so, like the whole thing is that interview subject, and then the B-roll that goes with it.
Yeah.
So like you're creating like a package basically.
Oh, okay.
So like that's what I got started doing. So I would go and I would interview people, and then I would go shoot B-roll based on the interview. So like chopping up a 6-minute thing to be a 30-second thing always came very easy for me.
Yeah.
So I'm lucky in that sense, you know. But yeah, like I remember circling back. Like I remember fall into winter of 2021, where we had a lot of COVID reschedules. So number one,
In addition to everybody that
in
waited.
addition to everybody who wanted to get married in 2021,
Yeah.
you know? So I remember having a wedding every single weekend from August until December, the first weekend or second weekend in December.
Well, and you probably had double headers, right?
A couple, but if they were double headers, a lot of the times,
honestly,
a lot
that's
of the
what killed
times,
us.
Yeah, a lot of times if I had a double header, it was a wedding for my company and then a wedding for another person's company.
Like
So it was
because
like,
you're contracting for other people too, to shoot weddings.
yeah, because I love doing it. You know, it's fun for me. It's my
Yeah.
job. You know, if I want to make extra money, I'm gonna contract for other people. You know, so basically, I also work full time. You know, I have a full time job as well. And
Also
that
in the
happened to-
creative industry. So
Also
you're
in the creative
just
industry.
always just
yeah,
dumping creativity all day long.
all day long, you know, and so like the problem that I had when I got burned out that year was I was a photographer, a videographer, and an editor for a construction company that like had a very corporate vibe to it. 9 to 5 every day, 8 to 5 every day at the office, out in the field, working with construction people, like not being able to wear a baseball hat and tennis shoes, like having to dress up, things like that. And then I would shoot a wedding.
Yeah.
And it's 10 hours on a Saturday. Let's just say that you're an editor at my pace, 10, 12 hours to finish an edit, right? You're working 40 hours a week. Then you tack on 10 hours of a shoot, and you have to tack on 10 to 12 hours of post-production. That is 62-hour weeks, back to back,
Every week.
every single week from August until December.
And that's like, you also
you
like have
never
to
get caught up.
Well, and you're like, you can't live life.
Right.
Like even do the dishes.
Right. It's
I
essentially-
remember like we have a roommate. I remember being like, hey, we will like pay you to
I'll
do our
discount
dishes.
your rent to do the dishes
Like
for
we
us.
literally couldn't even keep up with laundry. Like,
And I think that's the same year we decided to. It's gonna make us sound like super like bougie, but
it is what it is.
it's not that expensive. Realistically,
Really,
we
it's
started
not.
hiring somebody to come and clean the house once a month.
Yeah.
To deep clean the house so that in the middle it's not so bad. It doesn't take as much time.
My wife and I did the same thing.
Yeah,
Where it
it's
was like
'cause-
once a week, pay somebody to come in,
Our
deep clean
time-
a floor. That's
Yeah.
it. Like, and then leave. And
Our
then
time is more valuable spent elsewhere.
I agree.
Yeah.
I completely agree. My wife doesn't, but I completely agree. She hated it.
We
she
love you,
hated,
Mads.
She hated every second of having a cleaning lady.
I love every second of it.
Right.
We'll give you our cleaning lady. She's great.
Our cleaning lady was amazing. It was just
Yeah.
like, this is like shitty to say, but like Madison is so independent. Like we were both very independent
Yeah, you guys
people.
both are. Yeah.
And you know, when we met, I was 32 and she was 30. Like we didn't meet when we were in our 20s. We didn't
Yeah.
meet in our teens. We met as fully functioning as best as we could be
Mm-hmm.
post-COVID adults. Where like we both had our own houses. We both had our own kitchenware. Like we didn't. When we combined homes, we had to be like, whose couch are we keeping? Because
Yeah.
like.
You're like two of everything,
Literally.
down to like pots and pans and
Yeah,
plates. And
we had to like figure all that out. So we were fully functioning independent people with our own pets, you
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
know, that we had to combine and things like that. So like when we moved to a larger house that is a larger house than what we needed to have, and we both were working full time. She
Yeah.
works full time. I mean, she literally works, I mean, she cures cancer.
Yeah.
Like that's what she does. Like not exaggerating. Like she's
She's
in
a scientist.
medical research, right?
She's in clinical research. So she's literally working on cancer drug trials every single day. So her job is incredibly important. Like I make people look and sound good. Her job is like changing the world.
Right.
So like it's crazy for her to think that she has to do that all day. And then as soon as she's off, take care of a house that's 4,000 square feet.
Yeah.
And clean up after
For 2 people and pets.
2 people and 3 pets. 5 pets, 3 dogs and 2 cats. Right? So like it's impossible and outrageous to think like you can do that every single day. It's like another full-time job.
Well, and it adds to the burnout.
It adds to the burnout.
For sure.
So it's like
that's the last thing you want to do when you're get done working is
go clean.
mundane work in your house.
Right.
I would argue to say some people find peace in that.
She finds peace in it a little bit, but like
there are some days where I can find peace in it, but like not during a busy season.
Okay, so for example, yesterday we get home from Easter at my family's house, and she's got some plants that she had bought the day before that hadn't been planted yet. So she's like, I'm just gonna go ahead and put these in the pots real quick. So we did that, and we have a hydrangea that we want it to be blue again. So I'm like, oh, I have coffee grounds in the... So I went and got coffee grounds and mixed it in the soil. We watered everything, and I'm like, man, I could literally be out here and just get all this stuff checked off, but it's Easter, and I don't want to work anymore, but I wouldn't mind...
And we have a busy week.
I wouldn't mind doing this.
Yeah.
It just, sometimes you get that little itch to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So like,
I digress.
no, this podcast is going to be 3 hours long. So we haven't
okay.
seen each other for so long.
I
It's
know,
just like,
it's
let's
true.
catch up.
Yeah, seriously.
What's going on in your life? But no, like, I mean, it got to a point during 2021 where I literally worked 8 to 5. It was a half an hour drive home.
Yeah.
So I didn't get home until 5:30. I spent 15, 20 minutes decompressing with Mads. I would go into the basement, I'd edit until 10 o'clock at night, put 3 to 4 hours in, maybe get something done, maybe not. As all of us know, like sometimes creativity doesn't hit. It's not a light switch.
Yeah.
You can't just turn it on and turn it off. It comes in waves.
Yeah.
You have to be inspired.
Yeah.
So sometimes I would get stuff done, sometimes I wouldn't. And it just got to a point where like I was never making a dent because every time I finished a film,
You had to start another one.
I shot another one
And it would
the
add to your
next day.
queue.
And it just, so like one thing got, like it literally, the list just like,
Yeah.
and it just never got there. So like, I think I was editing films into like April of 2022 for weddings that were in like November of 2021.
Wow.
And I remember making a post, and I was so scared to make this post, where I was sitting at my desk and I was just like in the middle of a breakdown. Like I was
remember
in
this.
the dark.
I remember
I was
this.
by myself, and I was just like hit record on my phone and was like, look, I like talked directly to my camera, and I was like, look, I'm at my breaking point.
Mm-hmm.
I want you guys to understand, if any of my clients are seeing any of the posts that I make, please understand that like I am not giving up on the projects. That is not what is happening.
Right.
I am just sharing the fact that I'm a human being.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not a machine that can just churn out edits. I'm a human being who
Yeah.
has a life, who is engaged and planning his own wedding.
Yeah, I should
and
have
going
mentioned that,
through
but you just
1,000
got married.
Oh, yeah.
going through 1,000 things. And I just like made this like, essentially just like, please don't
Get mad at me.
Please don't cancel me. Like,
Yeah.
please don't get up and be like, hey.
My editor hasn't got me my film back and be one
Yeah.
of those.
And it's like, understand, like, I'm a one-person shop.
Yeah.
I don't have employees. My
Yeah.
wife shoots with me sometimes, but she doesn't do any of the post-production like you guys do. You guys combine on your post-production a lot.
Yeah.
Mads doesn't do any of that kind of
Right.
stuff, you know? So I'm a one-person shop.
Yeah.
I do, you know, up until recently, I did literally ground to delivery editing,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and that's the way that I wanted to start the company, because I was doing so much I was working with so many contractors at my old company that I was like, no, I want to control
Yeah.
the creative output that I'm doing.
And that's a lot. Like even for us, I mean, we split it up just a little bit in the sense that I color correct all the films.
Yeah,
So there's
but
at
that's a
least
huge
one
thing.
Right.
It's a
There's
huge part.
at least one step where Alex hands it off to me.
And honestly, like I hated doing that at first because I enjoyed color correcting. But when we actually looked from the outside looking into our company and how we basically have structured our brand, it's we want our photos and our films to have the exact same color.
Mm-hmm.
So what better way to match that than to have the
You are a
person editing the
photographer.
photography
And a photographer looks
Color
at color
correct.
differently.
Oh gosh.
Color correct the films.
I'm a stickler for it.
Are
for
you
sure.
coloring in DaVinci now?
No.
No.
Okay. When you start coloring in DaVinci, you're going to be like, oh my God, this is mobile Lightroom. It's video Lightroom, like to
See,
where you
I-
can control every aspect
I have
of things
seen
in
some
DaVinci.
And
videos
that's
on
the other
it.
thing about working nonstop is DaVinci is like the pinnacle of color correction
Mm-hmm.
for videography. I have DaVinci. I had the full license for DaVinci.
Mm-hmm.
But
play. I wanna play.
haven't had time to sit down and invest enough time to learn it.
Yeah.
Because I have worked in Premiere for 15 years.
It changes your films. I swear to God.
Ooh,
I've
I wanna
started
play.
doing DaVinci recently when I've been doing these corporate projects and I'm working with REs and Reds and things like that. So I'm working with like either raw or log, like significant raw
Humongous
footage,
files.
huge files. And I've always do a base grade in Premiere when I'm doing the edit so that I can send it off to client and be like, this is not the final grade, but it's just got like a LUT on it to move it from log to Rec 709.
Right.
Sorry for the people who aren't in.
Basically, log is
It's flat.
They don't care.
It's
flat.
okay.
They don't care.
It looks like it's gray almost.
Yeah.
They don't care.
Yeah.
It's okay.
It's a way, the short answer is it's a way to shoot incredibly high quality video
To
in the
maintain.
smallest amount of
Yeah.
file size possible to do more work on the back end.
Yeah.
So like I will always do a base grade in Premiere, send it over and be like, we need picture lock before I go into DaVinci and grade this, because you're essentially exporting high resolution extra videos
Yeah.
and then re-editing your project.
That's
Yeah.
a lot.
So it's like, it doesn't take a lot of time when you're doing that, but like you're exporting out like huge resolution versions of the colored videos, taking them back into Premiere and replacing your original footage with it. Just like working with proxies.
Yeah. Anyway.
And I'm serious, it changes the game.
Yeah,
like
we should look into
it's a night and day difference. Not only that, but like the things you could do in DaVinci are wild. I was editing a video for a very very big alcohol company, and the client was like, is there any way we can like make the sky more blue? And it's like an overcast day in San Francisco. So I'm like, I could digitally replace the sky.
Yeah.
And they're like, okay. And there's literally a one button click in DaVinci.
That's so cool.
That you select the sky, you make it its own matte basically.
Yeah.
You click sky replacement. You can go in, you could adjust like the gradient of the sky, where the horizon starts, add clouds, and then you just mask it to your movement. And it's not perfect. I mean, it's like I'm sure an animator
Would see the flaw.
would see every flaw.
Yeah.
But like, and I'm sure an animator would do it better.
Yeah.
If you wanted to pay
But for a commercial,
$60,000
it's fine.
to an animator
Well,
to
and-
work on it for 60 hours.
Yeah.
But like for me, it was that.
Yeah.
And it just
We
changed.
should look
it-
at-
And
we
what
should look at that.
DaVinci does is essentially what it would take to, in Adobe, to do the same thing. You would have to migrate everything from
Adobe
Premiere
to After Effects.
Effects. And After Effects is complicated if you don't know anything about it. And then put it back into Premiere. And if it didn't work, you have to go back to After Effects. And it's just, there's just so many moving parts.
Yeah. But dude, look into DaVinci and
Yeah.
I have
It might
DaVinci.
be, it might be real hard on a wedding film. I'll be
Yeah,
honest. That might
honestly.
be real. That might be a lot of overkill on a wedding
I
film
do
because
well
you've
with
got
what we got going
200
on.
cuts.
Yeah.
And you have to go into every single cut and grade
yeah.
and start, and basically you're making a new grade on every single cut, as opposed to throwing an adjustment layer over the whole thing and then making minute changes on cuts.
Yeah.
It's a lot, but it changes the grade.
Yeah.
I'm glad that you mentioned that you were just super vulnerable though, because I feel like a lot of the times us as business owners who work very closely with couples and
You
know
build that relationship
you build that
and-
relationship, you build that trust, but then there's also contracts and you want to remain professional. And I also struggled with that. I was like, I don't want them to get mad at me. I don't want to catch a bad review. Like I also just like want to make people happy. That's why I do this in the first place. But during that time, I had to do the same thing. I'm like, look, I am an actual like real person with real things we got going on. And we might be a few days behind on delivering your film. And I am so sorry. But like, we had to just be honest. Like, hey, this is what we got going on. And not just fake it till you make it type of thing, because we were not going to make it.
And the good news is like, and there is fear to this, there is a little bit of like imposter syndrome mixed in with anxiety and all these other things. The good news is that I have found that the clients that I am lucky enough to work with understand that.
Yeah.
They're not, I hate to shit talk, and you can bleep this if you're like, maybe we cut this. We're not a company like George Street. We're not companies like Tolman, that one that just went under and left.
What was
We
the
just
other one?
talked about
We just
that.
talked about that last on
that
a
left
podcast
all these
recently.
left all these couples in the lurch. We're not a
Right.
faceless, nameless
Our
organization
businesses
that like
are pretty like
Personalized.
personal, and probably our names.
Right.
Not for you, but it is like you built it. Like
Yeah.
it's your company.
My name, my face is all over the
Exactly.
is all over the website.
Yeah.
I personally answer all the emails.
Yeah.
There's not a business.
It's not like a huge film.
There's
house.
not an office manager who's answering
Right.
the emails.
Well,
you
what
know?
comes with that is the fact that, unlike corporate work where you're really just locked into a contract, you're doing this and you're needing that extra time, and it's footage of somebody's one of the most important days of their lives.
Well,
so you
and-
want them to get it sooner, and
Right.
they want to see it sooner.
But you also don't want to give them a C- film.
Right.
Yeah, I mean,
And
like,
it's like, look, I promise you guys, if you give me 2 extra weeks, you're gonna get an
It's
A
gonna be
film.
worth the wait.
You're gonna get an A film.
Yeah.
I can give it to you today. If you want me to burn through it in 3.5 hours, I can give you a film today.
yeah.
But you're not going to be happy with it, and I'm not going to be happy with it, and I'm not going to want to share it, and you're not going to.
Yeah.
You'll share it, but you won't watch it again
Yeah.
in a year. Our wedding film I've watched 50 times. Like we had our wedding videographer was so good. Shout out to Logan, but like she gave us a 30-second teaser in like 3 days.
Oh, I
you
remember
sent
you
it.
posted
You sent
that.
it to us. Yeah.
It was wild. Like literally Madison and I were sitting at our kitchen table, like having drinks and talking. And Logan, she's a friend of mine. I've shot for her. That's how we actually met. She sent me, you guys actually gave her my number. Because she called you.
I remember she was
She
because
called
she's from
you.
Kansas City.
And she had her assistant got COVID.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
And so she was calling everyone. She actually called us twice, and we're
Right.
like, "Oh, you just talked to us. Oh, my fault."
Yeah.
She was
And I was like,
desperate.
but hey, check out my friend David.
Yeah, I was in Nashville shooting a wedding and literally looked at Madison and was like, "Hey, we got to drive back tonight because I got to shoot a wedding tomorrow." Like, so
Speak of burnout, man.
yeah, it was exhausting. But like that day was rough. It was all at a winery. It was Shaw Met Winery, which isn't even like a fun winery to shoot at because it's just like so spread out.
Yeah.
Like it's like shooting at a winery but not shooting at a winery.
Yeah.
So
It's like shooting on a winery and a farm at the same time.
yeah,
Yeah.
basically, so yeah, we literally were sitting at our kitchen table and she's like, "Hey, do you guys like want a teaser for your thing?" And I was like, I mean, yeah, but
Gonna
like
say
don't
no to extra stuff.
yeah, but like also don't kill yourself for this, She's like, "No, I just found this song that I think would be like really cool to edit something to." And I was just like, I don't want to give it to like, I think she's like, I don't want to give it to like a real client. Like, which is like, I get.
Yeah.
I'm like, we paid her.
Yeah. But you guys are like on a personal level. Like,
Right.
And
Yeah. So
she
she's like,
she has
look-
a little more freedom with it that way too.
Yeah, and I mean, like our teaser is wild. Like
Yeah,
it's
it's cool.
just such an interesting
dope.
song that like makes no sense that would be like a wedding teaser, but it's very us.
Yeah, it
and I
is.
remember watching it being like, our wedding looked like it was dope. Like
Your wedding was good.
It was
like,
good.
It does like I'm not a huge dancer, so I wasn't like out on the dance floor all this time, but I was like, we look like rock stars in
Yeah.
our film and on our teaser.
Yeah.
Like,
And that's the goal for all of us. Like we always want to make our couples feel that way.
Right. It changed. Like I think back and like I watch our film and I'm like, it makes me like think on moments that I would never remember. And it's so interesting. Like as a wedding filmmaker who got married at the peak of his like wedding filmmaking career, like I
Yeah.
don't have like, like we're huge fans of White and Reverie and Kaylin and Kristen and all those kind of guys. It's so funny. Like they go back and they look at like their wedding stuff when they're like all emoed out. Because they're like 20 when they did
Yeah.
it, like
Yeah.
I got married at 33,
Yeah.
32. So like,
Hey, at least y'all have video.
Yeah,
Right.
we don't even have video.
so like, it's very interesting to like go back and look at it and be like, oh man, like everything everybody said about a wedding video and like all the stereotypical things that everybody told us about getting married to be like, take 10 minutes because it's going to go like that.
Yep.
It's going to blow by.
Yep.
I was
You're like, dang, that's true.
yeah, because I was like, no, it's not. Like, I know every single second of this entire day. I have the timeline memorized. I've got it on my phone like I was shooting the wedding.
Yeah. Because you could shoot a wedding and with your eyes closed at this point.
I've shot probably 400 weddings. So 2017, I shot 63.
Wow.
Like,
Did that include like second shoots and stuff like that?
I didn't know. That was when I was full.
contract
That
and
was when,
quotary and.
no, 2017, I was full time still.
That's right. That's right.
At Bleep.
Okay.
Like at
Yeah.
Bleep Productions.
Yeah.
Like I was full time there.
That was 2017 was 5 years ago. 6 years ago?
6 years ago, yeah.
Good Lord.
I know.
I met you guys in 2018 because I met you I met you when you were second shot for Sunny. And that was like the first coterie wedding ever.
Yeah.
Because that was me and Tyler, and it was like not good. I don't think we even got paid for it. I think we shot it for free because Sunny was like, you know. And I met you, and then we talked about you, and then like I met you guys like at a Panera, I think I think it was like 3 weeks later or something.
Yeah.
Like,
And that way, at that point, I had shot some weddings, but we weren't really promoting that we were doing video. It was more so like we'd get a client that asks about it, and we're like, you know, if this is what gets us a client, I have the experience, I'll just shoot the wedding.
Yeah.
right. Yeah, and that was when we started, because like I had no idea how to run a business. So it was like, look, I'll teach you how to shoot the wedding.
Yeah.
You teach me how to like sell weddings, because I didn't do that.
Yeah.
You know, like I still don't. You know, I don't market anywhere. I have social media, but like I use Facebook more than I use anything. I barely use Instagram. Like these kinds of but I'm one of those people that like, I want the client to come to me. I don't want to have to go to the client. I want it to be word of mouth marketing, things like that. And also, I can't do 30 weddings a year.
Yeah.
This is how you get burned out.
Yeah.
Now I know. I have 6 this year, and I'm so happy about it. I'm second shooting for people. I'm second shooting 2 weddings this month.
But you don't have to edit those. You just shoot a wedding.
I'm driving up to Kansas City. I'm shooting for the day, and I'm driving home. And it's like, yeah, it's a long day.
Do you feel like you don't feel like second shooting at all adds to your burnout?
No, not at all. Not at all.
That's good.
If I'm doing like,
what if you're like leading for another company? Like you're contracted to lead instead of just second shoot.
I don't do that too terribly often, honestly.
I know you've done it in the past, though.
Used to.
I have, but I don't do it very often anymore.
Because it's still taking your creativity for that day.
This is gonna sound shitty. We'll use you guys as an example. Like, I don't lead shoot for you guys because you lead shoot all your own weddings and things like that. But if I were to lead shoot for you guys with the relationship that we have, it might add to my burnout a little bit because I'm a little bit more stressed about it. I'm trying to make sure that I match your style and things like that. But I don't lead shoot for companies, for boutique wedding companies like the Youngs. You know, I don't lead because those kinds of places don't contract out associates. If they have an associate package, they're not hiring a lead shooter who's not a member of their team. You have an associate.
Like
Jaron.
Jaron is he does every wedding with us unless he gets hired
As an associate.
But
they know it's Jaron.
But he works every wedding with us, so he knows exactly what to do.
Like Tyler.
Yeah.
You know, like I trained Tyler from the ground up.
Yeah.
And I used him as an associate. Addison had his own thing, and but he wants more. So it's like I got, him.
Yeah.
But
so you don't think it adds to it then?
No, because the places that do hire me as a lead are like the Tolmans and the things like that. And I'm like, I'm sorry.
So you really don't have to think that hard.
I roll in and I operate on instinct.
You nail what you need to nail, and you turn over the footage, and it's over.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I operate on instinct, like when
that reminds me, I don't know. Depending on how this sounds, you might have to cut this. I just spoke with someone. I had an interaction with someone. I don't want to say who they are, but they said that they're getting married this month, and they just hired a videographer. And I was like, oh, who did you hire? Like, obviously, because I'm like, do I know them? And they're like, oh, we just hired this like random guy from Kansas City. I haven't even really seen his work. I just want video. I don't care as long as it's there. And I was like, oh. Like that, like I get it,
hurts your
but
heart.
like that hurts my heart. But there are just some people like that. And those are the people that are going to hire the companies that have multiple weddings in a day.
And those people don't care about the quality of their,
about
so
your
it's
wedding.
like, why would I care?
Well,
I care about your wedding.
Well,
right?
and from our perspective, because we shoot photo also, if it was a wedding that we had just booked photo only for, that somebody came to us and said, hey, we just hired, like if that was our wedding, because they wanted to go with a lower budget videographer, I would not look forward to working with that person.
Well, no, but like
just because the nature of how those businesses work.
But we take those steps to be like, okay, well, we need to contact them.
Yeah.
Like we need to get there early to have a conversation if we can't talk to them prior.
I just did that in Florida. The wedding I shot in Florida was it was my mom's best friend's oldest daughter. So like girl that I've grown up with most of my life, So I didn't charge him because it's like a really good family friend. And I was like, look, let me
Yeah.
do this right.
Yeah.
Also, I get a Florida wedding out of it. We got a
Yeah.
vacation
Yeah.
out of it. He gave me a really nice bottle of whiskey, which was awesome. Like, all these kinds of things. And I remember looking at the photographer's work and realizing that like the photographer's having meetings with the bride and groom, and she's probably asking like, who's your videographer, who's the DJ, and things like that. And she's gonna like say like, oh,
it's a friend of mine.
It's a friend of mine is doing the videography.
And they're going to be like,
Yeah. It's gonna
so
be
I like literally got her cell number,
yeah.
shot her a text, and was like, hey, I'm shooting a wedding with you next week. I'm a family friend, but here's my work. I'm not
Just anybody.
coming in here with a T5i.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
like
T5, huh?
yeah, we're
I
going
started
old
with
school.
a T3i.
Yeah, I started with a Canon 60D.
Yeah.
that was my starter camera.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, like it's
And that's good.
yeah. So like you just got to communicate and things like
Yeah.
that. But I mean, like back to burnout, really, like it's so easy to get there, and it's so easy to not realize it, especially like 2021, where it was like you rolled over a bunch of 2020 weddings, and then you were taking every wedding you possibly could because you went through a year. I mean, I don't know about you guys, like, but 2020 was the year I had to start going full time. I was freelance before 2020. Going into 2020, I was going to be like, this is the first time I'm going to make enough money on weddings
That I don't
to
have to work
support my
underground.
I don't have to take any other work if I don't want to.
Yeah.
And then the world shut down, and we always joked like, what's recession proof? Weddings and funerals.
Yep.
Weddings and funerals. Nuh-uh. Like,
Yeah.
it is not.
We click.
You know,
You
I literally
realize that.
shot funerals. I shot funerals in 2020.
We
It was
actually
messed up.
did a couple of them as well.
It was awful.
Funeral. We just did the one.
I did like
but-
3, and it was the worst. I felt like
Alex, no, we did two. We did your uncle's.
Oh,
That's
yeah,
different.
that's true. That's
Yeah.
different,
That's
though. That was just
yeah.
for.
But
Are you
still,
talking? Is that the firefighter one?
No, that was in 2019.
no, that was in 2019.
Shot that with us.
Yeah,
But
I'm not-
that's different though. That's it's a firefighter.
This was
line of
literally
duty
like I went with
funeral.
my camera to a cemetery, posted it up on the back, and like put a microphone on the podium and just clicked record.
Mm-hmm.
It was the worst.
no.
I used to joke with the girl I was dating where I said, I feel like I'm in Wedding Crashers. In that scene in Wedding Crashers where Owen Wilson goes with Will Ferrell to the funeral.
Oh my
Because
gosh.
Will Ferrell's like, I've evolved. It's so easy to meet girls
Oh,
at
yeah, that was-
funerals.
that
Oh
part.
my god!
That's
I've never
what
seen.
it-
I've never seen that movie.
Okay, we
Oh,
gotta
it's
show you
so
that.
good.
I
But it's
feel like
such,
that's like a
it's such a moment
crime.
of like Owen Wilson and Vince Vaughn crash weddings to meet girls. It's
Yeah.
the basic principle of the
Oh
the
my
thing.
God.
Sometime during it, they have a falling out. They meet up with Will Ferrell,
The
who's the
ultimate
one
wedding crasher.
who taught them how to do it. And he's like, oh, I've evolved from weddings. It's a lot harder at weddings than it is at funerals. Grief is the most powerful aphrodisiac there is. And they like
terrible.
cut
And
to
show
them
a
at a
clip.
funeral.
Oh my
and he's like
gosh.
fake crying and like all of these things. And Owen Wilson looks so awkward because he's
I
like,
should watch this
weddings are
movie.
so much fun. And this is
Yeah.
awful.
He's just like,
And
this
he's
is the worst.
This isn't the point of it.
Oh my
It's like,
gosh.
it's just, I'm sitting in the back of this being like, weddings used to be like, my job used to be so fun last year. Like, what is going on?
happening?
Like,
Oh my God.
Everybody was so happy all the time.
Dude,
and
that
now
would be
it's
a
just
mind F.
tears. It was the worst. I was like, and
So-
it
so-
was raining every funeral I shot. I swear to
Oh.
God. I was like,
no.
what
Of
is
course.
happening? Like,
Oh, no.
Yeah.
That's
so like,
terrible.
but like when it comes to like, again, circling back, when
Yeah.
it comes to burnout, like you're in it.
Yeah.
Okay. And you don't realize you're going to get in it when you start
Mm-hmm.
because we go through dead periods as well as incredibly busy
Right.
periods. So like right now, we're ramping up to wedding season. I don't know how many you guys have done this year. I've
Just
done
one.
I've done 2.
Yeah.
So it's like, and that's been in the last 3 weeks.
Yeah.
So it's like we're ramping back up. I don't have another one until May 5th. After that, I don't think I have another one until like July.
Yeah.
So it's like you
You-
go through
you get
these
to breathe
periods.
now.
Right. You go through these periods where you're like, I'm so fucking bored.
Yeah.
I just want wedding season to start.
Oh,
and
I
then
feel
like
that, yeah.
it starts. And you're like, yeah, I'm back in the swing of things. And then you're
But
like,
you have to watch out. Like
and then
you have to
start
watch
edit-
for it.
And then you start editing, and then you start shooting, and then you start editing, and then something happens.
Yeah.
A month into wedding season where you're like, oh, my car broke down. Or, you know, like
Yeah.
in my case, my mother-in-law redeveloped cancer.
Yeah.
And that like throws a huge wrench in your plan, and you got to
Yeah.
move, and you got to adjust, and she comes and lives with you, and things like that. And that throws a
But
wrench
the-
in your plan
but
for
the
2 weeks.
Work that you've booked hasn't gone away.
Exactly.
It's all still there.
It throws a 2 week wrench in your plan where you can't edit for 3 hours a night
Yeah.
because after you're done with work, you got to go get oxygen tanks. You got to go get, you got to go get your car's emission tested. Like, you got to go do all these things, and it throws a wrench in your plan. And now you're 2 weeks behind because you've buried yourself
Life
to
happens.
no extra time where you are down to, you're literally running on fumes.
So what are the things that like you would recommend? This is a 2-part question. What are the things that you would recommend to recognize and prepare to not get yourself in this spot, or to try to at least manage it at a healthy level, if that's possible? Also, how do you get out?
Okay.
And I know it's probably different for everyone, but how do you deal with that personally?
It's not I don't have a great answer, because like, this is the first year where I really am not doing it,
Not doing what?
where like, I don't feel like this year I'm going to get burned out. Matter of fact, like, I feel the opposite. Whereas last year I would have been like, yeah, I'm not going to allow myself to get burned out this year. I know I've got a lot on my plate, but like, I'm going to manage it better. No.
So like, how did you get out? I guess let's start with that.
You get out when you're out. I mean, there is no answer for that in my opinion.
Yeah.
Because one, everybody's different.
Yeah.
The way to get out is not allow yourself to get in. The best example,
I mean,
I hate to
there's
say
something to be said
that.
about
It's not,
that, yeah.
it's not great. It's not a great answer. I
Yeah.
said that. The best analogy for what burnout is, okay, is you're driving your car and there's a can of soda rolling around in the floorboard of your passenger seat. And it's just there. And you don't have a passenger in your car very often, so, I'm not leaning over at a red light, grabbing it and putting it in a cup holder. I'm not doing it. You just let it roll, okay? And then a month later, you're like, I'm real thirsty. I don't have anything in here. I do have that can of Sprite, though, that's been rolling around in my car, and that's burnout, okay? And you reach over and you go, I'll try it. Maybe this will work.
Yeah.
And you open it and it explodes all over you. The explosion is the burnout.
Yeah.
Once you're there,
you're there,
covered in Sprite.
Nothing,
You're covered in Sprite.
nothing you can do.
Yeah.
The way to not have that happen
To put that thing in a
is
cup
to
holder.
put that thing in a cup holder the day you see it rolling around.
Yeah.
That's the best way to describe it.
Yeah.
So like, when you're in it, you got to power through.
So
You guys-
recognizing it may look like making lists and having like a really organized calendar.
Yes.
Okay.
And understanding like,
Knowing your due dates, knowing if you can deliver early, possibly.
yeah, if you could deliver early. See, like, delivering early is its own issue though, because you don't want to consistently deliver early and have that, like, the worst
what
thing
you're known for.
The worst thing you want is a review on your Facebook page where it's like, I got this film in 3 days. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? Like, you don't want that either. And that's
Yeah.
like an element of like knowing the business and things like that. I mean, like, yes, obviously, like, it's better to deliver early.
So
but,
maybe
like,
not deliver early, but finish it in your queue. You're done.
It's building yourself extra time.
Yeah.
So it's like
A buffer.
Yeah, it's like for me, I know I could do an edit in 8 hours. So I build myself 3 days, 24 editing hours.
Yeah.
To do it, and it's being honest with yourself.
Yeah.
And knowing your own limitations.
Yeah. That's good.
When it comes to getting out of it, unfortunately, once you're in it, you got to just keep going, because there's no way. We don't live in a society, unfortunately, that allows you to go, hi, you've paid me to do a job. I'm having a mental breakdown.
And can't do it anymore. Yeah, that just doesn't happen.
It doesn't matter if you have the money to refund.
Yeah.
Let's just say.
Oh my God, I would never.
gosh.
I could never.
But be like, let's just say you're sitting on a savings account with 8 weddings worth of full payments, which doesn't happen. But let's just say, hypothetically, you're the best money manager in the world. A client isn't even going to want you to be like, hi, I'm not able to edit your photos anymore. Here's your money back. Because they're like, no,
But I want the
want my
photos.
I want the
Video.
photos. I don't
Yeah,
care
they
about
don't
the
care-
money.
yeah,
I
exactly.
want the video. Like, I don't care about the money. So like,
Yeah.
we don't live in a society where that is
Like we have to
Doable.
give you what, like
Right.
we have to.
It's like we said a minute earlier, it's one of the most important days of their lives,
Yeah.
and it's over. The day is over.
Yeah.
Right.
You
So-
have what's left of it.
So you have to be strong enough, mentally, emotionally, creatively, physically, to understand that burnout is a period of time. you will get out of it if you're smart. And if you don't consistently add more stuff to your plate at the end, you will eventually see the forest through the trees.
So
the
setting
trick really is
setting boundaries.
Well, not even just that. The trick really is recognizing when you're getting close to it. So like for me specifically, I know how my mood changes. I know that I start to feel depressed, and I'm not a depressed guy. I get irritable, and I just want to. If I find myself sitting at my desk staring at an edit, not moving because I've been working nonstop, that means that I'm really close to getting burnt out.
I would say now you do recognize it, but earlier on in your career you didn't.
Right.
Because then I would recognize it first and I'd be like, "Are you okay?" And you'd be like, "Yeah." I'd be like,
I just got a lot of work to do.
I'm like, "Are you actually okay?" Like, let's have like a self-reflection moment. Like, what is going on?
But Alex might have a similar thing to where I have, where your family, I mean, like, I'm going to say your family's not creative. I don't know the creative side of your family. I mean, I know you're a savant with every instrument that ever has existed.
I wouldn't say savant. Savant's not the right word.
Shut up.
It's true.
Not the right word.
Shut. Okay. I'm going to just start naming instruments. You tell me if you could play them. Drums.
Yeah.
Guitar.
Yeah.
Piano.
Yeah.
Bass.
Yeah.
4 for 4.
I'm not a savant in any of them, though.
Shut up.
Flute.
No, I've played
Yes,
a
you
flute.
can.
I've played a flute before, but I
The
can't
only
play a
instrument
flute.
Alex cannot actually play is the saxophone.
Violin.
But
I could play a saxophone. Sorry, a violin. I could figure out how to play.
if
violin.
you hand Alex an instrument and give him 20 minutes, he could come up with
I could probably play Mary Had a Little
something.
Lamb on it.
yes,
hate you.
except the saxophone.
I
So
could
I
probably do that too, though.
So I say your family's
out.
not
Get
creative
out.
in the sense that, like, they're not professionally creative. I have no idea if your family has, like, musical talent, photography
they're
talent,
not in the
things like
creative
that.
industry.
They're not in the creative industry. Neither
They're
is
first responders.
right.
Basically.
Right.
Yeah.
I did know that.
Yeah.
None of my family is as well. I'm the only creative in my family. Everybody in my family works in plastic injection molding, you know, so they're blue collar people as well. So that's what I was raised on. I was raised in factories. I was raised in blue collar life. I was raised in, you bust your ass from sun up to sundown, and that is what you do. So, like, you know, my dad came home at 7 or 8 o'clock at night and left at 6 in the morning.
Yeah.
You know, like, there were just, I was raised by my mom.
Yeah.
You know, my dad came home in work mode. So it's like, you come home and shit's not done, you're getting in trouble, you know? So, like, I was raised to work that way. I'm sure similarly to you. So it's like, yeah, in our minds at that time, especially pre-COVID, before mental health, like before people like really took stock in their own mental health, it was like, and we were younger, you know, you're a couple of years older than me, but like, I mean, we're
Just a couple.
yeah. But like, especially when you're like in your 20s, you know, that hustle and grind, balls to the wall every day mentality that a lot of, especially the people that we work for, were preaching.
Yeah.
You feel good about burnout was like a good thing.
Yeah.
When you were like, oh, dude, that
I've
means
gotten a lot
that means
done.
I got so much done this year.
I'm working my ass off,
Exactly.
which
On the
means I'm
contrary,
succeeding.
when you're burnt out, for me specifically, I get nothing done.
Right.
Yeah.
Because I'm just so drained.
But you feel good about what you had done up until that moment.
Yeah.
You know, you're
And
like,
once
I
you
got
do get
so
something
much.
done, you feel more proud of it because you were so down, but you climbed back up and got it done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's not good.
The other part about burnout that I want to talk about is not just you've worked yourself to the bone. It's understanding, at least in my case, there's an unhealthy level of competition with, especially in the creative world, with other creatives and with myself. I do
Gotta
not
do better than the last one.
literally.
Yeah.
If I do a film and I love it, the next film I do isn't 10% better than that film,
Yep.
then it's a failure.
Yep.
I could do a film, I could make the best wedding film in the world. Okay, you could make a Brothers Martins level wedding film, and then the next one is like my average.
Yeah.
Right, which isn't that. I'm garbage.
How are we gonna top it?
I'm garbage.
Yeah.
I'm trash.
Oh yeah, like you're and it.
You feel that all the
It's
time.
it's recognizing the fact that every single wedding is going to be different, and not every wedding is going to be just this fantastic wedding, but you want to deliver to the clients the best that you can do for that wedding.
Yeah.
But in a creative mindset, you're like, I want to just constantly be getting better. So when you see 2 or 3 weddings in a row that are just mediocre weddings,
they're okay.
Your
They're
film's good for what the wedding was.
Well,
Exactly.
and something that
But it's not that one wedding.
Something that I learned really early on in my career is no matter what the wedding looks like, shoot it like it's like $1 million wedding. And
Yeah,
so,
of course.
And so we try to do that, but then for you guys, when you're editing the film,
When you have to tell a
have
story.
that like in the back of your mind, like edit this like it's $1 million. And sometimes when you are like, when you're drained on your creativity, that is literally impossible.
I have found for myself, I don't like starting an edit. If I do a film in 10 hours, the first 4 hours are like the first 20 seconds of the film. And the last 6 are the last 5 minutes and 40 seconds. Because starting a film to me, I've started and just axed and restarted and axed and restarted like 4, 5, 6, 7 times with different songs.
And if you do that too much,
different
that's
vibes.
what gets you behind.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So like I've learned that I have found an editor who works with me on my team that does a first pass,
Like a
of the film,
baseline.
like a baseline cut. They'll pull selects, they'll pull these things, because what I am good at is going, oh yeah, I remember more of this day now, because I'm not looking at it as individual clips. I'm like, I'm
You're
looking
seeing
at it all.
something
I'm
put
looking at
together.
it all together, and I'm like, okay, this actually isn't the best pull for this moment. I'm gonna move this over here. I'm gonna
Yeah.
move this over here, and it's like rearranging
And then it, like,
the puzzle.
starts to make sense in your
Then it
head.
starts to make sense in my head, which is why I struggle editing films that I don't shoot, and I
Yeah.
get frustrated because I'm like, I wouldn't have shot it this way. Why are you 10 degrees to the right when
Yeah.
you should be center, that's why I struggle with that. And it takes me longer than I always think it's going to, because I'm like, I wasn't here. I have no
Yeah.
baseline for
what-
whether this is a good thing, this is a good part, whether there's another part. And like, I don't watch every single second of every single clip like some people do, but that's because I'm like, I have to get things done in 10 to 12 hours because I have built a schedule around 15 to 18 hours, not 40. Whereas like, I know people like my friend Addison, who literally takes like 40 to 60 hours per film because he lays every single clip out on a timeline, and it's a
Wow.
2.5 hour timeline, and he just watches and pulls
Really?
and just pulls clips into a different sequence, and then takes those clips and just moves them around a little bit and
Wow.
figures it out. Whereas I edit linearly. I don't organize my clips. I don't do anything. I drag the whole root folder structure into Premiere, and I'm like, all right, this card is the lead camera. This card is the assistant. This card is this, because that's the way that I shoot. I know my R5 is my camera.
Yeah.
I know an A7S III is my assistant's, and I know another R5 is my backup for ceremony stuff. So if I'm looking for a creative shot, I'm pulling it from the R5. I'm not
Right.
pulling it from the A7S III because they're on a B angle,
Yeah.
So I know what I'm looking for. And I know in theory, like how I'm gonna put the film together. And I know this shot needs to go into this shot. And then depending on how I lay the audio, I gotta have a transition and things like, so like my brain works in segments.
Yeah.
I've built my films out into segments. And like, I know kind of how it goes. Now I'm also in the process of trying to adapt that style to a more editorial thing, which is like a little bit more custom, a little bit different.
Yeah.
But that's the style that is coming in today.
Yeah.
At just like, making everything in slow motion 5 years ago was the vibe.
the thing, yeah.
So it's like now, like the cinematic films have no slow motion.
Right.
Yeah.
It's
very
very
little.
docu style. So like you have to adjust. But like the biggest thing is you can burn yourself out even if you have a good schedule by having the wrong mindset about things. And I used to think being as competitive as I am, especially with myself, like I'm hyper competitive with you guys. Like I'm serious. Like I'm very happy for you guys, but every time I see something go viral on your page, I'm like, like I'm so mad. Like
You
look
love
at us with our
us.
200,000 views.
Dude,
Oh my God.
So like, but I'm like that with everybody. It's not a thing where I'm like, I want you guys to fail. I'm just like,
Like,
I'm not.
I feel like there is a healthy level of competition across the creative industry in general because it pushes you further and it pushes each other further. Like it's necessary.
Well, and I'm in the mindset of when you were at the studio today, and it's a nice day out.
Okay.
Anyway, I'm in the mindset, and I always have been with anything in a professional sense, whether it's in the creative field or not. You should always have at least 3 people in your direct contact or direct circle that are far better than you at what that is, so that you are constantly able to pull insights and advice out of those people and strive for somewhere.
Yeah.
I've never been happier and also more upset than I was like, I think it was like a week and a half ago. There's a wedding film company in St. Louis that I love, absolutely love their work. And their stuff is so niche and so unique. And it's films by Juniper. Okay, it's Mike and Emily Dalton.
Yep.
Okay, Mike's a cinematographer. I don't know if he's still there, but he was a cinematographer at Bruton Strobey, which is the biggest agency in St. Louis, and like gigantic. And Emily has her own career as well. But they were both filmmakers, editors, colorists, and everything. And their films were so unique and so niche and so cool that I wanted to be like Juniper Light. Like I was like, I don't want to try and copy their style.
Yeah,
but I
never wanna
want to
copy.
watch the way that they
And you want to
do
pull
things.
inspiration from them to develop your own style.
And there's a
Absolutely.
difference,
Absolutely.
which we should talk about that someday.
And they posted a thing on their Instagram like a week and a half ago that they're shutting down Juniper. Because they're-
Really?
I
yeah.
missed that.
Yeah.
I did
They
not
just
know that.
Released a wedding recently, didn't they?
Yeah, they're done.
They're done?
I mean, they might have a couple more films in their queue. I'm not them, but like they made a
Really?
They're not
they
doing
made,
weddings anymore,
they
though.
essentially made a legacy video that had like thank you, and they were like,
That-
we're making this post to say thank you for all of our previous clients.
They
we
haven't.
are-
I feel like they haven't been.
they've been around for a
It's
long
been a
time.
while. Yeah, it's been a while.
Yeah.
Why do I feel like they're
20 maybe early. I came into contact with them for the first time when like 2016, 2017, because I shot Allie Brassel's wedding and she showed me one of their films. Allie
Okay.
You
Brassel's
showed
a
me one of their
photographer.
films. I think I remember seeing a few.
I was full time at the wedding company when I discovered them.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so they're done because they're focusing on their own
But then
individual
you're like-
careers, which makes complete
so
sense.
you were like, well, who am I going to look up to? Like,
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
part of that, but also like, okay, well that's a niche that needs to be filled, and
My
like
turn.
there's not people.
Yeah.
Your guys' style is very different than my style.
Yeah.
And like. I was like, maybe there's a hole in the industry that needs to get filled because of that. But at
Yeah.
the same time, like, I don't want to do that because.
You don't want to be Juniper. You want to be David Skaggs,
Right.
but fill that kind of style void.
Right. And I'm very happy for Mike and Emily
Yeah.
because they're obviously doing well enough that they
Can move on.
can move on.
Yeah, and
They
that's
don't
great.
need the wedding money anymore.
Yeah.
And they'd always kind of limited themselves, I think, to like 7 to 10.
Yeah.
But they were in this, because I looked them up to do our wedding, and they were like in I think they were in the 7,000 range. And
And that's
Madison-
high for the St. Louis market.
Yeah, Madison was like, she when I sent out an inquiry and it came back at $20,000, she was like, okay, I'm shutting this down. The first place I emailed was Maru Films, and I was having to.
That's they're international too, so you have to
Yeah.
do travel with that.
Yeah, it was 10,000 pounds plus travel. So that's like $15,000.
Yeah.
And I remember the moment. I was sitting on our couch, and she comes in, and I'm on my laptop, and I'm going from their website to Google Translate because the website's in Dutch.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
like,
I remember you telling me about
I'm
that.
translating
Yeah.
it. And I'm like, oh, that's what that question on the inquiry is. And I would type my answer into Google Translate, and then I would translate it back
Oh
to
my
Dutch.
God, that's so funny.
And put it back in the
The fact
thing.
that you did that though is good though, because
Yeah.
if it was me and it was a foreign inquiry,
We'd
I'd
be like, nah.
be like, I don't.
But
I
you've
mean,
watched their films. You
yeah,
would have done it.
I would have
Yeah.
done it.
Yeah.
So-
Absolutely.
My wife comes in, was my fiance at the time, and she's like, "What are you doing?" And I
You're
was
like, I'm learning Dutch, babe.
I was like, I'm emailing a wedding videography company, and she's like, "Not the part I'm questioning. Why are you in Google Translate typing out an answer and then translating it to Dutch?" And I was like, "Well, because they're in Amsterdam." She goes, "We're gonna circle back to my original question then. What are you doing?
Yeah,
Like,
what
why
are
are
you
you
doing?
doing this?" And I was
Yeah.
like, "Just let me
The
have
travel
this."
alone.
We're not hiring, and Dutch company.
Oh my gosh, so funny.
Eventually she was like, what do you charge? And I was like, well, that's not fair because I undercharge. Like everybody tells me I need to charge more.
Yeah.
And I don't want to because I don't want to get into, I mean this with respect. I don't want the clients that you guys have. The ones who are dropping $100,000
Yeah.
on some of their weddings. Because that's a level of stress that I know I don't want to be involved in.
And talk about burnout. I
don't
get
want to
that.
have conversations with the bride's parents.
And you know what?
I want to
Like,
have conversations with the bride and groom. I
Yeah.
want that level of like, well, how Madison and I got married.
Yeah.
Where like we paid for a lot of that ourselves. We got some money from her parents,
Yeah.
but we also made decisions on us that we had
Yeah.
to pay for. So we were a lot more respectful to our vendors
Yeah.
because we had one-on-one
It is
communication.
it is a different world, and it's not for everybody, and that's
Right.
okay. That's
Right.
okay.
It's for
Yeah.
you guys.
Yeah.
But
We
like,
love it.
Yeah. I like being under the radar.
Yeah.
And like I like rocking a polo.
Yeah.
And jeans.
Alex has to
as
wear a
opposed
whole.
I mean, I
whole
wear a
ass
suit at every
yeah.
wedding.
Yeah, you made me wear
Yeah.
a suit to that one wedding, and I was like, "This sucks. This is awful." Like, it was like,
Sorry, dude.
But I mean, that was one of those weddings that they definitely spent a lot of money.
Yeah.
yeah,
At that wedding.
Yeah, they lit it on fire.
Oh my god. Moving on.
That was the best.
Moving on.
All the fire puns for that entire night.
The rest of the night.
Oh
yeah.
my god.
pissed
Okay.
off that
we
men-
have to
that-
we have to circle back to burnout, but this is the last tangent.
Literal burnout.
Okay.
Yeah, we almost burned it out. That's what we did.
We did not do that. Let's clarify.
We did not
Let's
do that.
clarify.
It was just.
Okay. Let me tell
it
them
was
what happened.
It was the venue coordinator who was like, "Help!" And I was like, "Help? What do you want me to do?"
Okay, hold
I
on.
don't have a camera in my hand.
Okay.
I'm not putting out the fire. It's your job.
For everyone listening,
Everything was okay.
everything is fine. Everyone's fine. I don't even know if the bride even knew.
She did.
Mom knows.
Mom
so-
knows. I still don't
I'm
know if
sure
the
she
bride
told.
knows. So let's
I'm
just
sure she
not
told
give
it.
away
That was
that information.
amazing.
But basically, there were dried florals, lots of extravagant florals.
It was
okay?
amazing florals.
There
I'll give them
They were
that.
great.
There
They
were
it was
a couple candles, and one of them
got too close to the
close, and the whole centerpiece engulfed. Like,
On one table. There were lots
Very
of tables
very
in there. One
quickly.
table.
Yeah,
And
it
then
was like
eventually they were like, hey, can I put water on this? Because, some things you shouldn't put water on. They're like, yes. And she went,
and
immediately
it was done.
out.
And they replaced the whole setting, the whole
In like
tablecloth,
3
and
minutes.
everything was
That
fine.
was impressive.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was. Listen, this is why you hire professionals, because when you do have a catastrophe, it's taken care of.
And it's like it never happened. But it
honestly,
happened.
looking back at it now, and some, like the venue coordinator or the venue owner, might not agree with us, but I think it was freaking hilarious.
In hindsight.
It was
Because everything was
hilarious.
okay. It worked out. It's
It
hilarious.
it wasn't hilarious in hindsight for me. It was hilarious in the moment.
Well,
it
in the
wasn't
moment,
my
once it
job.
was
The
put
saddest
out.
thing, the
Yeah.
saddest thing is we didn't get any photo or video of it because we were just absolutely stunned. You're like, what is actually happening right
Well,
now?
and we were resetting to take room shots, so we didn't all
Yeah.
have cameras in our hands, and
I
so we're
did.
like,
I
I had
did.
my Super 8, and I actually pulled it up to fire it, and
And
I
it was-
pulled the trigger, and it was turned off. I'm
Yeah.
like,
And then by then it was like out by then. It was like
Like, it
literally
was-
a 3-second thing.
yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway,
But I messed with the venue coordinator
back.
the entire night and just made fire puns. And she eventually came up to me.
She's
I was
like, "You need to stop."
You need to stop doing this." And I was like, "What are you gonna do? Fire me?" Then I was like, she laughed at that one, and I was like, "Fine, I'm done."
that was the
yeah,
last
that
one.
was the last one.
But I was like, I don't remember what all I
burnt
said.
out anyway.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't remember what all I said, but I do remember the fire me comment, and I do remember asking if the bride and groom were walking into Fireball.
yeah. Oh
Like
gosh.
that was, she was just like, haha. And I was like,
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah.
I thought it was funny.
But yeah, let's go ahead and wrap it up real quick. So just give me like your biggest tip on recognizing burnout and trying to avoid it.
Recognizing burnout is when you're no longer enjoying the things that you enjoyed 2 months ago.
Yeah.
You're tired. Your personality changes, as
Yeah.
Alex said.
Yeah.
You might not know what it is, but you know something's not right.
Yeah. So self-reflection for sure.
Self-reflection, 100%.
Mm-hmm.
That is the game changer. Avoiding it, a couple of ways. One, be better at scheduling and understand your own limitations. If you're not willing or unable to do that at this point, find outlets, especially creative ones,
Mm-hmm.
that you can't monetize. So for me, I've monetized every element of creativity in my life.
Yeah.
You know?
So has Alex.
Same.
Right. I mean, like, I've done podcasts, I've created podcasts, I've recorded podcasts, I've done short films, I've done photography, everything with the camera, to the point where, like, I can't even enjoy going to the movies anymore because I'm like, oh, I'm looking at the angles and I'm learning from that and things like that. What I do is I play Dungeons and Dragons. That is my outlet now. I play it once a week. It's like a 5-hour thing at night, you know, and I play it with friends, and it's a creative outlet. It's a creative outlet that I haven't monetized. So find that outlet, whatever it is. You know, it could be cleaning your house.
Yeah.
It could be, you know,
it could be coloring.
It could be playing video games. It could be reading.
Yeah.
It could be taking Madison and I call it a depression shower. It's like an hour, take a shower for an hour, for an hour.
Yeah.
Like, take a bath. Like, whatever it is that you enjoy doing that is...
For me, it's online shopping.
Not the thing that's burning you out.
Not the thing that's burning you out, but also keeps your mind active and open.
Yeah. I said for me, it's online shopping, which it is, but it's online shopping, like, for our house. So it's like house decor and decoration and stuff like that.
Like car stuff.
And you're always like, you are so good at it, you should make it a job. I'm like, I don't want to do that.
Right.
Like car stuff.
Yeah.
Like, I think that's probably partially why I haven't actually started. I have lots of reels that I want to post of car stuff that I've recorded,
but you don't want people to start hiring you to do car stuff
because I don't want to do car stuff.
Right.
I like doing the car stuff, and I like working on the cars. I like researching and planning for the stuff, and I like going to car shows. But I don't want to make it work. I want to enjoy it.
You have to find the hobby that you either are unable to monetize or unwilling to monetize.
Right.
Because you have to have something for you. You
Yeah.
have to have something that is your outlet to release steam.
Yeah.
To slowly open the can of Sprite that's been rolling around, is as opposed to just and letting it explode, like, and letting out that carbonation, you know. So
carbonation is the impending burnout.
Yes.
That's what we're gonna
Thank you for explaining the analogy.
We came full circle.
We did. Yeah. It was a really, really, really big circle, but we got there.
Yeah.
So David, where can people find you?
So you guys can find me, not very many places, honestly. I have an Instagram. It's at David B. Skaggs, Skaggs.
2 Gs.
Yep, 2 Gs. There are lists to my agency that I work for. There's lists to my wedding film on there.
And he posts a lot of his work, so if you want to see what he does.
Yeah,
Super Bowl stuff,
I post it all for fun. You know, like, I don't try to, like, I'm very lucky in the sense that I'm able to make a living doing what I enjoy doing with as little marketing as I do.
Yeah.
You know, like, I've found people that I trust and that trust me, and I've kept those relationships open for a very long period of time. And I get to do things that I enjoy doing, and people trust that not only do I know what I'm doing, I enjoy what I'm doing, which causes a better product for them.
Yeah.
So, like, I try to, like, I don't take photos when I'm not working. You know, like, I don't have a website. Like, I mean, I have a website for my wedding stuff, but I don't have a personal website where I share anything. Like, you know, I don't think I've made an Instagram post in a month and a half.
Yeah.
You know, so, like, I'm very lucky in that sense that I have a private life that I get to live.
That's good.
And I have a public persona when it comes to, like, sharing work and things like that. But that came with time, and that came with experience, and that came with burning myself out enough times and having to take breaks from social media
and learning,
because you're judging people's very curated lives.
We just talked about that.
Yep.
Yeah.
So it's like, you know, that's part of it.
Yeah.
So if you're
David B.
inclined
Skaggs
and you
on
want
Instagram.
to see the work when he posts it,
Follow
him along.
Follow me along. Should be fun.
Give us a thumbs up if you like the video, like the podcast, follow along, subscribe wherever you're listening or watching. If you're on YouTube.
Yep. We're on Audible now.
We're on Audible now.
So that's dope.
Audible/Amazon, because it's like the same thing.
Yeah. So, all right, guys, that's it for this week. I hope you guys enjoyed our mini tangents, but also very good advice from David for burnout. So, all right, we'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.